final episode will be about chocolate balls. Chocolate salty balls. Every time, I swear, when I get this going,
mouth and suck them.
Yeah. That and from Saturday Night Live, where they're the balls and all that.
Sweaty balls.
My balls. Sweaty balls. I can't help. My brain goes there every time. That being said, for everyone out there that has been waiting to hear what is the big change to the bar downstairs. Well, this is it. Not a whole lot of change going on. Well, you know what? Just stick around, watch, and you'll see. Because it's going to be B horror classics. Because Todd, that's really him and his wife. They enjoy that stuff. And I've enjoyed it too. A comedy. Goes here, a lot of comedy, a lot of stuff from our past. Just stuff that we love. The world needs comedy relief. Every damn day of the week, it needs some comedy relief. Music. There's a lot of music that's going to be going on here. Trust me. It's interesting. And some random shit. Because let's face it, there's a lot of random shit going on as well.
Shit happens.
That's right. So if you're thinking, wait a minute, shit happens all the time. In all honesty, if you're thinking, well, this reminds me a lot of Meet Us in the Man Cave. That's because it's kind of like a brother station to Meet Us in the Man Cave. Meet Us in the Man Cave still exists. Christopher Webb, he is going to be working on a couple projects that he's been wanting to do solely. And every once in a while, him and I, if we're going to do a podcast, we'll get it on Meet Us in the Man Cave. So don't worry, that's still there. This is just me wanting to explore with doing my thing with other people that I know who want to have fun to come on here to basically talk about B horror movies, the cult classics. And like I just stated, comedy, music, and some random shit. Let's get right into it. So this gentleman that's here with me today, I've known him for a very long time. In fact, I'm going to let him speak for himself right now. Mr. Todd, and I'm not saying the last name. You have to guess.
Yeah, so, well, I'm Todd. Pretty much I've known Scooter since we first met, and he was a lot better at remembering this than me. But I did the, I started out in dance, did dance from age of 3 to 18. I've done a lot of theater. I started a community theater. I did Blue Jacket for 2 years, semi-pro theater. I've DJ'd.
I forgot about Blue Jacket. I'm sorry, I forgot.
yeah. Did Blue Jacket for 2 years. And I also DJ'd, which ended up getting me to meet my wife. So I'm happy about that. And then the other part of my life is I'm a programmer. So I'm into IT. I've been doing it now for over 30 years. I'm very thankful to still have a job with the same company after 24 years. It's really a testament to them putting up with me, and it's a blessing. Oh, by the way, I'm also, him as Scott. I know him as Scooter. I've known him as Scooter my entire life. That's what I call him. These are just little kid childhood names that we have. We met at Rocky Horror Picture Show. It was every Friday night or Saturday.
Yeah, I always get confused with it too. It always felt like during those times there were 2 Friday nights into a weekend. So yeah, I think it was Saturday night. That seems about right. It was like, if you're young, full of, well, random shit. There we go. I think you'll know what we're talking, if you're having a life at that age. Right. So,
but we have, and Rocky, for those of you that haven't seen it, go out and watch it. It's absolutely fantastic. If you watch Rocky, I'm No Neck. I'm the criminologist. That was my part. So it gave me a lot of time to explore the audience and sit down next to random people, yell callbacks in their ear, just get to know all different people. So, because most of the time the criminologist isn't on the screen, so I didn't have to be in front of the movie acting it out. I was out in the audience. I had a lot of parties. So, and my parties were my mom and dad, God rest their souls. They were okay with me having people over. They trusted me. I was an only child. So if anything gotten broke or anything, it was my fault. So they knew who to blame. And we wouldn't have ripped down, drag out drinking fests, or we didn't have any. It wasn't anything that I wouldn't be proud for my mom and dad not see. I mean, if they would have seen it, they would have been fine with it. They would have probably even joined in. A lot of cast parties because of being in theater and through high school. And so all this got up to the, anyway, long story short, mom and dad were out of town for like, I don't know, it was like a week or a long weekend or something. And so I'm like, okay, well, after Rocky was over, I'm like, hey, if anybody wants to come over to my house, I'm having a party. And Scooter and another guy, they both said, sure. So they came over to my house. And both of them literally quit their jobs because they were having too much fun. And it was just 3 straight days of going out. And we had a bunch of people there. There were women. There were guys. I mean, it was video games, videos we were watching, beer towers. Scooter was very proud of his beer can tower. And I think that was wet age. Pretty sure I was 21, so I knew I was over age.
Yeah, it was around, I want to say, everybody has a different, it 90? Was a time frame between, it was a time, yeah, it had to been
89, 90?
89. I think it was 89 because I was 19 then.
And I had just turned 21 or was close enough to it, which retroactively, it's we're past the statute of limitations, so it doesn't matter if I was under or not. But well past the statute of limitations.
Yeah.
Because now I'm 55. So we're coming up on 35 years, Scoot, of knowing each other. Imagine that.
And somehow I'm only 33. I don't know how that math is working out there. For a lot of you, you're saying, huh? But for me, it makes a lot of sense.
Multiverse.
Yeah, I retired at 33.
Well, you can't count it over 33, so that helps too.
But we don't need to go there. I have actually, you bringing up Rocky Horror, I came up with an idea, and this is basically going to be a cheater for everyone out there. And so what I'm going to do right now, I was trying to figure out how am I going to do this as you're telling this, and maybe it'll make sense. I'm going to send Todd an email. Before you read it, this idea that I came up with, this future podcast, like I said, this is kind of a teaser, a tester for all of you out there. So in the future, it's basically going to be called, What Movie Is He In? So in other words, I just sent Todd an email, and it's basically from a script, some lines. And what he's going to do is simply read just a portion of whatever script it is. Yes. So he'll read it off. And for the viewers out there, in the comment section, all I ask is, but the title of that movie in the comment section. So it's a lot of fun. So I get to like read a script and you have to, what the hell is that? But we already gave you a teaser. So this is how I really met Todd. He doesn't have the suit on, so that's going to be kind of difficult.
What? I don't fit in that suit anymore. I would like, if I may, to take you on a strange journey. It seemed a fairly ordinary night when Brad Majors and his fiancée, Janet Rice, left Denton that late November evening to visit a Dr. Everett Scott, ex-tutor, now friend to both of them. It's true there were dark storm clouds. Heavy, black, and pendulous.
It's so because
toward which they would. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, okay.
That's okay. I just can't help but picture the movie at that moment in time. So I interrupted him.
No, that's fine.
So, like I said, obviously a teaser. So in the future, whenever we have fun, I mean, you know, of course, Todd, he could, if he wants to do that, he could like, oh, let me see, I'll think of a script and blah, blah, blah. Like I said, it's just for fun for people to interact into these podcasts. And they're going to be like, wait a minute, what the hell is that from? It's driving me nuts. And then boom, in the comment section. It's just I think a type of thing where people could get involved playing a sort of game like that. So, and if you haven't guessed by now what script he was reading and what character, that you weren't paying attention to what Todd was saying around, well, I don't want to say it. I don't want to ruin it. I'll just say it starts with an R. There we go.
Yeah, that narrows it down.
Yeah. So I was just thinking of you with how we met with Rocky Horror. And from my point of view, I was not in the cast. I just showed up at the time. And this is how I remember thinking it was 1989, because where I was living and what I was experiencing at the time, fast forward enough to where I just split up with my very first girlfriend and I was on cloud nine. I mean, I'm 19. I shouldn't be getting involved anyways, right? I'm hanging out with a bunch of friends. I was very rich with friends back then. And we were going to Rocky Horror. It was like, so we tried to figure that out. Was it Friday to Saturday or Saturday to Sunday? I don't know. Of course, we'd see Todd there, and he was pretty much the first person you would see when you're sitting down or standing up or chanting or whatever, what you do at Rocky Horror. So he's the first one. And the energy alone from what Todd's performance, it's like, okay, he was pretty much lip syncing what he just read off there, but yet you could still hear him doing it. And he really got into the character and all that. So plus everybody did, of course, that, whatever character they were playing. So what really got it going was, one famous night for anybody that was there at the movie theater that we went to, I'd say 98% of the time for Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yep.
Todd just made a big announcement right there in the lobby. I'm having a big party at my place. Anybody wants to come after Rocky, follow me, or basically like that. Fuck it, let's go.
How many people from the lobby came?
If there were 50 people in the lobby, I'd say 49. That's what it felt like.
No, there wasn't that many people that came.
Okay, there was about 20 some people in the lobby.
I think maybe like 6. There wasn't a lot of people who'd go over to a stranger's house in the middle of the night.
There was at least a dozen, if not more. Okay. All I know is you already mentioned about how proud I was of the damn pyramid of beer cakes. You're asking me to do math at this point?
Yeah, but that was later.
Yeah.
That was like a couple days it took you to build that.
The best way that I could describe in 4 days, like I said, yes, I did quit my job. And so did at least one other. I think it was 2 other individuals that quit their job. I don't know.
I did not, because somebody had to keep on buying the liquor. So...
well, we did have $1 each in our pocket. I mean, come on. Back then, that could get you pretty far, especially when you start thinking maybe we should get like a keg and charge people. I mean, come on. Everybody has seen those references. Not that happened, but it should have, I guess. 4 days of different ideas, different, like, what should we do next? Like, okay, it kind of felt like, granted, it wasn't as dramatic, it wasn't as drastic, but of course, everybody, when they share stories, it always changes a little bit over the years. So in my mind, it always feels like, it was 4 days of Animal House. That's what it felt like. Because we did decide to have a toga party. And it was anything to do just to have fun, be silly, be ridiculous, and try not to get Todd's parents, who eventually did meet us, kill us. And luckily that did not happen.
And again, we never put holes in walls. There was only one thing that was broken, which we'll save for another episode, because that'll be a teaser.
Would you be interested in coming over with playing with my erection? If anything, maybe your wife, she might enjoy the idea. Maybe you could bring her along and both of you guys could play with my erection if you'd like.
No, it's
erection set.
Erection set remains a very versatile constructional medium. Almost any mechanical device can be built with this system, from structures to complex working cranes, automatic gearboxes, or clocks.
Ooh la la.
It is frequently used to prototype new ideas and inventions. Model realization using erection set is limited only by the imagination and ingenuity of the builder. Come and play with my erection today.
Only available at Bubba.
We can also go ahead and tease another story of the last night I DJed.
Oh,
That's a good story. We'll do that one later. That was a big one.
Because it would be amazing. I don't think it's going to be possible, but I think everybody can agree to this. If only they had that tape from back in the day. Now, I'm serious. Everyone who's watching and listening right now, which, by the way, these will be available on your favorite podcasting app too. From iHeart, Spotify, Apple, Amazon. Yeah, and Podbean, which is where this is pretty much generated through. So if you like to listen to podcasts like to, yes, it will be available on those when it's all available, of course. But what Todd was saying there, his last DJing day, everybody out there's listening. I know for a fact you're thinking, oh my God, I wish I had a tape or there was cameras going on when this happened. And sure as shit, I know there was some pictures or some videos, and I know for a fact I would have given anything for cameras to be in that parking lot that night as well, because there was a lot of shit going on. Yeah, Todd DJ'd. He was actually I myself got into the gig. In fact, I'll save that story for another time. I talked about Meet Us in the Man Cave where I got carjacked one time, but that's a story for another time because it does involve Todd and his mom, and trust me, we'll talk about some other time. But Todd's last night DJ, it was a very famous year. 1999 to Y2K is what we called it. Now, before I get into that, Todd, why don't you, educate a lot of these young folks out there that are watching. Hopefully we got more Generation X people listening. No offense to you millennials or Z pops, but Todd could school you right now on how a person should truly DJ.
I have found my life to be a series of fortunate coincidences based upon the time of which I was born and the things I went through. I started DJing because I did Blue Jacket. So doing Blue Jacket, everybody would hang out at a bar afterwards, after the show was over. And the person that bartended at that bar ended up working at another bar in the off season in the winter. And I would go there and I would bar back for her and help her out. And it ended up she started dating the DJ. And so the DJ at this small club wanted to dance the last. So usually when the night's over, it's 2 slow dances. And he wanted to dance 2 slow dances with her in a row. So he literally taught me how to change the record. Slide the sliders, start the new record. That was my first time DJing. So that got me into, from there, I did singing telegrams for a little bit. Bet you didn't know that. Not well, but I did.
Google it. Google it.
It's not available on Google.
Google Todd on Google. Google Todd on Google.
And I DJ'd a bunch of different clubs back and forth that were around. But the luckiest break that I had was working in a hotel that had a small bar in it. It wasn't that busy all the time, so I had a lot of time to practice. And CNC Music Factory was where I learned how to mix and how to do beat mixing and beat matching and all that other kind of jazz. I learned how to pull a quarter, which we had these things called turntables, and it would spin. And so the idea of pulling a quarter is you basically put a 45 record on there. So it's 45 RPM, 45 revolutions per minute. And you put a quarter on the outside of the turntable and start the record and have it play live. And the idea is to pick the quarter up without skipping the record and then be able to place it back down again. I got to where I could actually keep a record going without turning on the record player, just by my hand for the full 3.5 minutes of the song or whatever it was. That's where you learn the touch. That's how you then start. From there, you go on to scratching. You go on to learning different tricks. One of my favorite tricks was, if you can imagine a turntable, back then we used Techniques, and they were 1200s, I think. Techniques 1200s? Sounds right.
Sounds about right.
But you could, so you could play a record backwards. And a lot of people were like, how can I do that? Well, in order to do it, you took a roll of duct tape. So you took a roll of duct tape and put it over the spindle. Then you took a drinking straw, a straight straw, put it over the spindle where the record goes. Then you put the record over the straw, and then you take the stylus, what plays the record, where the needle is. You can pull it out, and on those Techniques, you could flip it upside down and put it back in. And what that would do is it would just switch the channels of left and right stereo. That's all it did. It would still work just fine. Then the Techniques had a weight on it so that it would either how much pressure is going down on the record. That's so you can scratch it, lighter pressure, but easier to scratch. But you could also go zero with it, which means or over zero, which means it would float. It would literally like float up. So you have the needle now upside down. You put the float arm up so it's floating. You have the record, and the needle is now up against the record, and then you turn it on. The one thing you have to remember is start the needle inside the record, not at the outside, on the inside, because it's going to come towards you. It's going to play backwards, and that's how we would. That's something that I would do, and I would always put some kind of like music on there that was just vocal only, and then on the other side, I would play "Turn the Beat Around" by Gloria Estefan or Gloria Gaynor, the original artist, just because I thought it was funny. But yeah, so that's one of the few tricks. One time we had a DJ off. We had like a bunch of local DJs that would show up, and we just had one night where I just thought it would be nice for all the DJs to come. All their fans could come out, and we would just like basically just take turns doing records, mixing, showing off our talent, doing our favorite. My song that I was known for was Don't Stop the Rock. That was the big song that I did. And I was also known for YMCA because I would do a dance to it, and everybody would. That's one of the reasons why my wife first noticed me was because of that. But it was fun. I mean, I always like getting the crowd into it. I was there for the crowd. I wanted everybody to have a good time. And then Scooter was nice enough to start doing lights for me. I taught him how to do lights.
Look what I could do. Thanks to Todd, I could turn on the light. Where's the switch? Oh.
Boy, you gotta get the soundboard closer to you, buddy.
Yeah, it's literally that far.
I could have shaved in the amount of time it took you to do that.
This podcast is sponsored by Garbage Disposal. Rendering Sanctuary.
I always hated the way bars ended nights because usually, and this is my philosophy, they always would do 3 slow songs at the end of the night. They call last call and then 3 slow songs and then the ugly lights come on and everybody leaves. Well, my thing was I was always noticing a bunch of people who were still finishing their drinks. And it's just like, so either you were dancing with someone, which means, hey, you for some people, target acquired, goal met. And then for other people, they were just standing around and it's like the losers that were just sitting there going, oh, no.
Hence, no parking on the dance floor. That's why that song was written.
Yes. Midnight Star.
Hey Siri, who wrote "No Parking on the Dance Floor"?
The album "No Parking on the Dance Floor" was released by the American vocal band Midnight Star on June 6, 1983.
That was my birthday.
But yeah,
what's something new there?
Oh God, now I got that song going through my head. But anyway,
13 years old. Sorry.
So what I ended up doing was I would play 2 slow songs, and then I'd go straight into "Let's Go Crazy" by Prince. Every night that was my last song, because I learned a long time ago you always wanted them to come back. You always wanted to leave them coming back, wanting more.
That's what TV series do.
Yeah. And my favorite part is at the end of the night, and Scooter knew this because it was his cue, we'd have lights going on, all this crazy kind of stuff. And at the end where he screams, "Take me away," house lights flood on. And that's it. And it was just it was a way to wake people up who were sleeping. Everybody had a good time. They were all dancing.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of DJ stories I got that they're just interesting. But being born in the 80s and having
you might well say the 70s.
BPMs, beats per minute. So I mean, it's all about that's why you had a lot of those albums back then. And one of the guys that he one of the biggest DJs in town, actually, I knew. And he would always give me, so record companies would give 12-inch singles, and that's how they would get their word out there. And even I mean, this guy was getting music from before it even was released.
Yeah.
And he would always give me his duplicates. He would always give me his doubles. So, I mean, I always had the latest and greatest music. My favorite thing to play was techno music because that's what the biggest bars played was techno back then.
And
in-house.
Yes, it's I know I could say this where it's not offensive at all. As we all, before Todd and I were not even old enough to be going, like say Club 54, we have in every major city and small towns, you'd have nightclubs where it was generally for the gay community. And we had one of the DJs that I know, Todd, either you're thinking about him or I know for a fact, Dougie. He DJ'd at a nightclub, a place that no longer exists, Hills and Dales and Kettering Shopping Center. That was what we used to do a lot after Rocky Horror. It was after hours, where a lot of people would go over there because you're all 18 and up at that point, and people wanted to go dancing, and it was a lot of techno, house music, and Dougie was a phenomenal DJ.
And it was a gay bar up until like 2:30, because from 3 o'clock until 5. Is when you get a lot of straight crowd going.
Exactly.
So,
I mean that's kind of common throughout years though.
And a lot of my idea was like I would start off at 1 o'clock in the morning because we closed at 2:30. So at 1 o'clock in the morning, I started playing techno just to try to keep the crowd. Because a lot of crowds would like actually leave to go to get to 1470 beforehand, and I'm trying to keep them there. Yeah. Just to try. And this is another interesting point, and that people may find interesting. A lot of people think that a DJ is here to make people dance and have a good time. That is not the DJ's job. The DJ's job is to sell liquor. That's my job. And so if you're ever I don't even think they have clubs anymore like we used to. We used to have clubs all over the place. But you'd go out to a club and it'd be like, oh, you're dancing, and it's like, oh, this is my song. And then all of a sudden it was like, wait a minute, what the hell is he playing? And then you get off the dance floor. But what would you do when you got off the dance floor? You'd go get another drink. You'd get that drink, come back to your table, and then all of a sudden, oh, that's my song. And then you'd go back out to the dance floor again. And by the time I got you off the dance floor, that drink's now watered down. And you don't want it anymore, so you're going to go get another one. True story. I could move the registers at a bar 25% higher if I worked the club, if I really, really worked the floor because that was called the floor rotation, right? So, and it's that's why a lot of times you can mix from one song into another, like go from Love Shack into Can't Touch This. Two completely different songs, completely different people like that kind of those songs, and you'll rotate that floor. And I learned to do that again when I was at the hotel bar because we had the biggest mix of people. It wasn't like they were always the same people. You had regulars, but for the most part, it was people who came in, like Slash from Guns N' Roses stayed at the hotel when he was playing the local arena, and
David Copperfield, remember that? I remember that night.
Yeah. And then the sports guy, he commented that he wanted I had a thick head of hair back then. Dick Vitale.
Yeah.
Was in one
he's
time.
been battling cancer. I think he's beating it from what it sounds like.
But yeah,
no, so you're talking.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I can't help but think, like we talk about Technic turntables, if you get your hands on one, because let's face it, we all know vinyl, thankfully, is coming back. I'm proud to hear a lot of younger kids that are getting into vinyl, and they understand exactly what we were talking about. Let's say back when we were kids, one of your biggest things, my records are in my music room. Thank God I can call it that, not a dining room. I'm a guy, I live alone, I can call it what the fuck I want. But it's the thing that what's great about vinyl is you're listening to the music, especially if it's a new album, and you're looking at the artwork or reading the lyrics. Sometimes there's posters. There was a whole new world. The streaming thing, I get it. It's great in your car, I guess. But it's just not as, in other words, you get to learn more from that band or artist because you're listening to the whole album, not just 15 seconds up. Oh, that's my favorite song. And then you totally forget what the hell you're listening to, because that's unfortunately what I understand a lot of people, because it's TikTok. You got 15 seconds on TikTok. So you're going to listen to about 15 seconds of your favorite song. But yeah, my record player, is a lot like a technique. It has the same operations. It has a pitch control. It has a counterweight in the back. And Todd, I shit you not, if you want to get a plastic tray, your cover, to protect your record player, been looking for them on Amazon. I could get them. You'd think you'd get it for like maybe $9. No, they're $55 on average. A plastic cover. I mean, I got this cloth, but I want to put like the transparent plastic. That way I can still look at it.
Yeah.
I love looking at the turntable. When the cloth's on it, I don't get to look at it. Yeah. So, damn it, I'm going to spend $55 on getting a plastic cover so I can look at my damn turntable when I walk by it. I just say it's fascinating.
And the thing about growing up when we did, we have went through a period of time that will never be repeated, ever.
It's sad.
And it's because of and it comes to media. It comes to actual media. My point is, when I was younger, and I still have briefcase full of blues from the Blues Brothers on 8-track. Okay, that's when it started. We started with 8-track. I have a 78 record. Then you had the 33 records, the 45 records. You had 12-inch singles. You had single-sided 12-inch singles came out first, and then they came out with the double-sided 12-inch singles. It was just one big long song on a record, and or on vinyl. And so we went from 8 tracks to vinyl to cassettes to CDs, and now we're in digital. And that's 5 different major things. And the same thing can be said about movies, because you had VHS, you had Betamax, you had Laserdisc, and then you had CDRs, which could actually do some smaller video on actual CD. Then you had the DVD, and then you had Blu-ray, and now you've got 4K. So I don't know that we'll ever see another lifetime like you and I have had, that sees so many different changes. I literally at one time, my favorite artists, I love Meatloaf and Pat Benatar. And I literally had a Pat Benatar album on 3 different sets of media. It was the same damn thing. But I just wanted to have it on DVD on CD.
The great, what you're talking about right now, from the original, well, not the original, but the majority of this existence of this particular YouTube format, where I've had a lot of followers from back in the day, they totally get the whole collecting of physical media. Because a lot of the guys that I have met throughout the years from this YouTube channel alone, they prefer, for example, Halloween. A lot of them get it. They prefer to watch Halloween on VHS over Blu-ray because of that original. The Star Wars and Star Trek, fans, they do not like when George Lucas messed with that, when he had to add this, add this and add that to all the digital formats. So yes, basically it's what you described here. A lot of people get it. They'd rather have their movies on physical media. They'd rather do that than stream it because, excuse me, the commentary you get on the physical media, you get featurettes, and sometimes, for an example, if you're watching Friends on Max, they like to cut a lot of stuff out of it. If you get the physical media, there's other stuff that you see on the DVDs or VHS that you don't get to see on Max. Right. So that's what you're missing out if you don't want physical media. And you gain weight. It's proof. I used to be thinner with physical media. Now, just sitting on my couch, I'm 180 pounds heavier.
Well, the other thing that a lot of people don't know, when you're talking about vinyl, there is no better sound than when you're at a club that has spent $20,000 on a sound system. It's the physicalness of it. It's the actual hills and valleys that the needle goes up and down in that makes the sound better.
And according to what studios recorded it, yeah.
That's why vinyl came back, was because it was a nostalgia for a while, man. I can remember listening to it on vinyl. It was so much better. You can do 128-bit, whatever you want, 256-bit recording, whatever, 4K. It's that physicalness that made it happen.
For an example, listen to an old classic Steely Dan's, you know, Asia. Yeah, AJA. I always butcher that. That vinyl sounds phenomenal when you have a basic turntable, a decent receiver, decent speakers, and to this day, it was actually known for how aggravating it was to work with those guys because we got to add another track, got another track, but they were getting professional studio performing artist guys, of course, Michael McDonald, of course, but yeah, there's an example of something on vinyl that sounds better on vinyl than anything else.
Yeah,
it was recorded in the 70s.
Yeah. Oh, and then I guess we should, while we're on the subject of DJing, we should talk about if you live back in those times, you either got real excited when the electric slide came on, or you hated it. So what I decided to do, and we did this on Scooter's birthday, I wanted to have a stomp off.
Hold on. This just in.
This particular song is sponsored by Doggy Slops, even man's best friend. Well, hates it.
That fits. Yeah. So if none of you have ever heard it, I mean, now they do the cha-cha slide, they do a bunch of other ones, but the electric slide was like by storm. I mean, it was so famous, and Practical Jokers even had an episode with a punishment on it. If you're under 18, don't look that up. But no, but there was a lot of people that didn't like the electric slide, and I realized that the electric slide was fine. What was irritating, I knew people didn't like it, but they still like to do the dance because it got everybody on the dance floor, everybody doing the same thing. So what I realized was Remember the Time by Michael Jackson is a much better song to do the electric slide to. The other thing that I would do that Scooter appreciated was I would take Run Like Hell from Pink Floyd, and I would put them both on at the same time. So while people were doing the electric slide, you were hearing run, run, run. It was just deep little tricks. But anyway, on Scooter's birthday, we decided we were going to have a stomp off. And what I did was I went out and bought, I think, 30 copies of the electric slide on 45. And I literally said, this is the last time we're playing the electric slide. This is it. And people went out and started ripping it. I mean, there was pieces. They were stomping on it. We called it the electric stomp. And that literally was the last time I ever played it, because from then on I would play Remember the Time.
Yeah.
And people knew to dance to it. And I even got to the point where I wouldn't play it. I DJ'd some weddings and here and there, and I never even played it there because people got so sick of that song.
Yeah.
It's so overplayed.
Yeah, to add in my 2 cents to that, you could always go over to Meet Us in the Man Cave, where Chris and I talked about songs that we absolutely despised. And that, of course, was mentioned from my end. And to what Todd, where he bought all those 45s, I turned 22. So that takes you back. That's when, I remember it was my 22nd birthday. It landed on a Friday. And my favorite bartender, she was my personal bartender, and we'll just leave it at that. And I remember Scott Johnson. Remember that? Scott Johnson.
Yes.
Scott Johnson, we were, okay, back in that day, if you were in your 20s, you get it. Most of you get it. You could eat junk all day, drink all day. Your metabolism just takes care of it. You didn't gain a pound. Well, we're all basically weighing an average of probably 100 and, I don't know, whatever the perfect weight looked back in the day. But Scott Johnson's skinny as a rail. On my birthday, is like, all right, I'm going to out drink your ass tonight if it's going to kill me. Okay. I had a tool belt around my waist where I kept bottles and shit in there. I'm an energetic drinker. I shit you not. When I get around friends, I socialize and drink, and I, for some reason, get a lot of energy in me. I don't know. I'm the Energizer Bunny. Well, not today, but back in that day, I could. That's probably why that Todd's party lasted for 4 days, because I didn't want to stop.
And we never got, and I'm sorry, but it was never mean. It was never drunk. It was never fall over stupid. It was just always there.
Yeah.
You just wrote it. And that's what was nice about back then. We never got crap-faced drunk.
No, and to educate, to help you do something you kind of keep underneath the wings. But if you're going to have a long night, always drink water in between each beverage.
Yep.
Because that helps you, of course, not get dehydrated. So there you go, folks. If you're going to have a long night with your friends, drink a lot of water in between. It helps out a lot. Or Gatorade. So anyways, Todd did not tell me because it was a surprise about the vinyls and set a chair out on the floor at Stubby's. And he played the fucking song, which he knows I hated it. But he kind of stopped it. If I remember, I think he stopped it. And then all these 45s came out and got to do it. So yes, I guess I obviously initiated, and a bunch of people came out and destroyed that shit too. So it was like, of course it didn't technically end Electric Slide because
it did in that bar. I never played it again.
No, well, I butchered your story. As we all know, every once in a while you will go, because I have sporadically throughout the years have done weddings as a videographer, and sure as shit, that song still gets played. But the beauty of it is I'm looking through my camera, my and I'm focusing on what I'm doing and not listening to the music. So even I could shut it off while I'm doing a job. So I hated that song so fucking much.
Yeah,
okay,
we did
got that off my chest.
We did a couple weddings together too.
Yeah. I've been doing it for on and off now I was almost going to do it full time, but
that's the other thing that we have in common is we both started learning to edit when it got really big. And so I got into digital editing a lot more because of my computer background, and Scooter would actually do VHS tapes. And you had a machine, right?
I had basically 9 tape decks that were from ABC that a mutual friend had gotten from a local network, as basically, I forget exactly why, but it was 8 linear tape decks. I'm sorry, 9 I just mentioned, and 1 editing board, and only one of those linear tape decks worked. So how the hell am I going to get this to work? I was determined. I took one of those big ass, they weighed like 80 pounds. I hooked up my high 8 Canon camcorder to this thing, and I played whatever I recorded off to that. And I had to do it by a count of 4. I figured it out to where the process would start recording onto another linear tape. So I'd hit play, 1, 2, 3, 4, record. I had to do everything literally by hand.
Yep.
So I would start making videos and shit that way. And even Pete, of course, when I showed him what I was doing, he's like, how the fuck did you learn how? I said, I was determined. I really wanted to figure out how to do this shit. He's like, I don't know how you did it, but you did it. I'm like, well, the camera's a tape player, technically speaking. And sure shit, I had on the other side of the basement, like 8 other of these goddamn boxes or, just stacked up because it didn't work. So, yeah, that was fun. Too bad we can't show you a tape, something that I did back in the day.
Oh, dear God, that was hilarious. That was hilarious.
It's literally not allowed here on YouTube at all.
No.
Yeah, I loved making music videos, and I always have comedy, humor, smart ass shit in my veins. So I had to take my son, who was a baby at the time. He was really getting onto an unwrapping, by the way. Just curious if it came in right. Was taking his Sesame Streets, and I've got the CD here. I think you can actually get it on streaming services, Pig Vomit. Oh. And the songs in it's like 18900 SEX, Holy Shit I Gotta Pee, Vagina. I mean, it goes on and on and on. So I had to make music videos off of the soundtrack of this with a combination of pornographic videos and Muppets.
And sometimes yourself.
Yes.
Yes.
I added myself.
Yes, I still have burned in my mind. It's like you shirtless from like here up, just making faces. Then you cut to the girl who is.
That's how they did it. That's how they. That's how they did it.
Like it was real. I mean, it looked like you were there. So.
That's literally how they did it back in the day. When they needed the money shot, they had to All right, let's go back downstairs to where we have all of our extra footage. Right? It's like, wait a minute, this isn't lining up. Why are her breasts smaller than they were a moment ago? It's stock footage. Okay, I got what I have a project to work on this weekend. I only got half of my stuff in there because I busted a nut. Speaking of, I busted a nut.
Trying to get a nut to move your butt through the dance floor. See, there's CNC Music Factory. There I go. Just right into it.
I busted my lock nut up here, a strip of nuts. Yeah. So I'm going to have to restring it. So I got some strings. And now I'm waiting for the nut.
There you go.
The nut. By the way, it's a locking nut.
Yes.
So.
You always want to make sure your nuts are locked.
I have not. I've got to get hardwood floors put down here. It sucks to roll on carpet.
So I think we should. I think because we teased it earlier, I think we need to hit one movie at least while we're on here, because I know there are some people that were probably waiting for it, and they've been waiting now for a while. So, but
before I do, I have to at least finish off one thing about DJing.
Yes.
First of all, we'll get into 1999, 2000 K another time. Yeah, because that deserves practically 45 minutes on its own. I guess. I don't know. Well, maybe we could find some photos to kind of add to it to sell the story later. But there is one thing I do want to add. Back in those days as a DJ, there were managers that were very uncomfortable about you playing, Prince's Erotic City before 10 p.m.
Oh, yeah.
And I can remember how it frustrated the shit out of Todd because it did get people on the dance floor.
Oh, yeah.
And there were guys that would request that song because it was either A, their girlfriend, or B, there was someone there that they liked where they wanted. And I'll use Nicole as an example. I loved that song. She understood. But if there was a guy that wanted who maybe she got a break and you could get her on the dance floor before 10 o'clock, it was going to be Erotic City, but Todd couldn't do it because, believe it or not, Erotic City, you couldn't play until after 10 o'clock, which was so frustrating.
But we were one of the few bars that would play it. There was a lot of people that wouldn't play that. I mean, I would play Sexy MF, which, again, we'll leave it edited. But there was a lot of...
Mother fire trucker.
There was a lot of stuff by there was just a lot of other ones that nobody had ever heard out of any other bar except mine.
Yeah.
And it's because I really didn't mind how raunchy it got. The raunchier the better. It got people talking, and especially thanks all the other bars for not playing it, because the only place people could hear it was when they came to see Todd. And we had a lot of regulars that did that.
Yeah.
That would come just for that.
And of course, we can always talk about some other time where Todd and I were actually doing Monday Night Football at actually Stubby's, but before that it was, what was it, Gambits? What the fuck? I forget. But movies. Let's get into that.
Oh, and sorry, but one more thing that we have to remember to put on the docket, Scooter, is karaoke and trivia. I would do. Well, I don't know if you were around, but at the hotel bar, I would do a trivia night, and we would actually do life-size Trivial Pursuit, thanks to my cousin who made a big fluffy die for us to roll. But anyway, let's go on with the movie. I'll let you go ahead since this is your place. And by the way, everybody, this is my background. This is actually at Cedar Point. I'm a big roller coaster theme park enthusiast more than roller coasters, but this is actually a roller coaster bar, and I thought it was appropriate for the bar downstairs. This is at up in their new they have a new place, a new building there. I forget, it's on the boardwalk section of the park, but that's what that is. That's really cool. I love that.
Yeah, that's what's great about this channel from the past, because there's a lot of guys that on here that are still kid at hearts. They still got that little kid inside of them. I'm trying to say that appropriately because you got to watch everything you say. I'm thinking, oh God, I can't believe I just said that. But basically, we're still kids at heart, and there's a lot of guys that are into the roller coasters and stuff like that. In fact, there's somebody who's been following me for ages. I'm not going to say his name publicly, but he's definitely into like Cedar Point and all the other stuff. He goes to the parks all the time.
And we can talk about that sometime too, because I mean, you'll be hard pressed to find anybody that knows more about it than me. So
yeah, my son, first time he went, I still got that video around. Yeah, I still have all that file, all that stuff on put on file. I have like 3 copies of that stuff. I was so thankful because I thought I lost that tape forever. And sure shit found it, and I made 3 digital copies that's on my external hard drive. So, I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, before we get into the whole movie, for everybody that is watching now, you're probably like, God, are there's going to be? You said B horror movies. There's still going to be thing Halloween related, yes, but not as much, guys. The only reason I'm saying that is because there's only so many times you can reinvent the wheel. Okay. It's not that I don't dislike it. It's just, like I said, there's only so many times that you can reinvent the wheel. I will bring it in from time to time, which will add in something I'd like to do in the future for the listeners out there, for the viewers. It's been a part of it for a long time. I know Todd will have fun with this too, but every once in a blue moon, I'm going to do something where I'm going to give away, but you have to be a subscriber. That's pretty much it. I'm going to give away. I'm going to have this like the ugliest mask giveaway. I'm going to every once in a while go out and get an ugly mask, or maybe when I start actually making, which you'll have to definitely stay tuned because I might be making certain things again. I'll be giving that away, but that's just because it's me saying thanks to all you guys out there that are watching and listening. But it's going to be who wants this ugly fucking mask this month? That's pretty much what I'm going to call it. I just want to have some fun with that stuff. Why did that happen? I didn't touch anything.
Well, what kind of bullshit is this? We're repeating now? What the hell?
The beauty of it is like, I don't have to put that in there, but I literally, all I did was turn my head and that came on.
We'll fix it in post, whatever.
Yeah. But I want to make sure that I at least share that. That way people will be like, oh, cool. He's going to give away masks. It's going to be an ugly ass mask. So stay tuned for shit like that. Movies, Todd. We've already talked about Rocky Horror Picture Show. We want to get into the theme of some cult classics of some B movies. Now, you mentioned to me recently that you and Mrs. Todd are having a lot of fun with these B classic cults. Some of them are so ridiculous that they're funny.
Well, in her defense, she doesn't nearly enjoy them as much as I do, but God love her. She knows I enjoy them, and she will sit through and tolerate watching them with me. And she has seen some bad ones. And I'm talking the worse, the better. It always seems like there's always one that's worse than the next. And but sometimes it has turned out good, because some of these movies, and they're not necessarily B movies, it's really kind of a weird genre, because I mean, what is a B movie? I mean, it's like some movies are great because they were the first of their kind. Some movies are great because they were done by a bunch of college kids who just had an idea.
Hence Halloween.
It's yes. It's really so when you say the word B movie, a lot of people get a certain thing in their head. Understand that she would just look up the weirdest movies that she could ever think of, and she would be, here, I got you this. A lot of these are on Shudder, which, funny enough, some of these can't be found.
You can go to Tubi; it's free if you're on a budget.
Yep. So anyway, I digress. We better make sure to write these down so that we don't ever double up on them, because I'm sure that will.
Believe it or not, I haven't ran into those issues before. So it's the editing thing. You just don't forget certain things.
Good.
Certain things loop into your brain over and over and over again. But since we're kind of starting and ending on the same vibe, I want to bring up one I think that kind of starts off something that's in our DNA, how it pretty much started as the B movies. And I have talked to others in the past on this channel, and I would mention up a certain film, and a lot of them, they have not heard of this. And is it an age thing? I don't know. But I know that when I first discovered this film that I'm about to share, everybody knew it back then and loved it. And it was part of It was almost like a Rocky Horror thing at one time with some people that I knew. And this movie is called Student Bodies.
Oh,
Student
classic.
Bodies is just, it is basically, it takes a lot of earlier movies from the 80s and it more or less pokes at it, makes fun of it. If you enjoy horror, if you enjoy comedy, if you have a sense of humor, if you want to see something that's great, I mean, there's some stuff in this movie that are just, it starts off with a bang. It reminds you When a Stranger Calls, but how it's created, it's just absolutely hysterical within the first 3 minutes of the film. So yeah. I highly recommend Student Bodies. More sometime Marvin P. Ray.
It was actually I'm just looking it up on IMDb now. Pardon my glasses. It was 5.4 out of 10 stars, which is extremely low for the classic that it is. Mickey Rose wrote it. Mickey Rose also directed it along with Michael Ritchie. 1981, I believe, is yes. Runtime of 1 hour. Rated R. Runtime of 1 hour and 26 minutes. And it didn't have any stars in it, so to say, but it was the original Scary Movie. Scary Movie was nothing compared to Student Bodies. It was Student Bodies. Malvert P. Red is a reference to the janitor that's in the high school. So the whole and spoiler alert. But the story's about we follow a young girl who is, of course, the virgin, and in one of the scenes, she has a button on that says no, and then she takes her top off, and underneath on her bra, she has this button that says for the last time no. There's a body count. This was the first movie that actually had a physical body count. So as people would die, like the first person would die and it'd say 1, 1, 1, and then they'd kill somebody else. It'd be 2, 2, 2, and then she'd swat a fly and it'd go 2.5, 2.5, 2.5. It's that kind of, you need to pay attention to it. And the thing about Student Bodies that I found so interesting was I had to watch it a second time because I was laughing so hard the first time through that I missed jokes and gags that were in it. But Malvert was actually, there's an actor he's credited as the Stick. I'm not sure if he was in any other movies, but he was very tall and lanky. And as he said, sometime Malvert P. Red, because he helped make Punch. He helped make the Punch for the dance. They also had to have they had the prom, homecoming, all the events they had to have on one day because of the school budget. They couldn't afford to do separate ones, so they did them all the same day. Yeah. There's a killer. You're trying to guess who the killer is. There's horsehead bookends are involved. Eggplants are involved. Somebody gets killed with an eggplant. It's just one of the most wonderful and it's clean. There's no. I mean, it's rated R, but there's no real. I can't remember any like nudity in it. Was there? I don't remember. I have to look that up first. But
I'm thinking like when we have a scene where, of course, where we have our killer, where he's where he's looking into the girls' locker room.
Yes, there is. You're right. There is. Yes, the breather. Yes. And one of the other big bits is when he's in the. She's alone and she gets a call and it's the breather and that's literally what the breather is what they call him. He goes and she hangs up and the phone rings again and she picks it up and he goes, I said it's just stuff like that. It's when he's wearing so there's another scene where she's getting away and he's trying to chase her and he's got galoshes on and he's like, galoshes. Why do I always pick the runners? Why do I wear galoshes? It's a dead giveaway. I shouldn't be here. And it's just the end of the movie is a complete twist that you won't see coming, but it has been done it's been done once before very famously by a movie that was started in black and white and became color famously. But that's but yeah, student bodies. I mean, it's just one of those things to where there's a lot of times, and another reason why people should see these, Scooter, is because the more you and I talk and the more you and I do this, these are some of the things that we throw in that are from these movies that these one-liners that we've been doing our whole lives that we just think about.
Oh yeah, I think of like when he's going upstairs and the stairs. Yeah, you just see the hands and the footsteps, and of course, I mean, I could butcher it to hell, just paraphrasing about how his like why he's complaining about climbing up the stairs, and of course he steps on gum.
He steps on gum, and then he puts his hand on gum, and he's like, sugarless. I mean,
as you're talking.
So
I'm trying to remember my password here because I want to get on use my phone to show you what I have actually hanging up as I walk into my office. You know, we're obviously recording these podcasts in here, and I'm trying to remember my password, of course. To hell with it. On my door, I've got this. I don't know what size it is. It's a smaller poster reel. I mean, hell, I could always. What I'll do is I'll throw it here on the podcast as I edit. It's a smaller poster print from the film itself. Student, well, not the film itself. It's the poster from Student Bodies.
Yes.
And I bought it long. Yeah, exactly. I bought it a long time ago, and it's like I said, it's right on the door that never really shuts. But it's right there. It's so cool. Yeah. I had to get that when I seen it. Just like I look to right here, I've got this huge, like 66 by 40 black and white print of Reservoir Dogs that I literally look at right here, and I love that thing. It would cost like $400 just to frame that bitch, but we probably watched Student Bodies about 20 times just together. I mean, we would just watch it over and over and over again. It's one of those movies that I can't speak for everybody, but yeah,
that's the kind of, when we talk about the B movies, it's those little known gems that we're going to bring you. Some will be very well known, some will not be known at all. And
hell, people do watch alongs on those things too, by the way.
Oh,
I kid you not, during live ones, because basically what it is you like start the movie like, okay, we're going to start the movie like say at MGM Lion when the Lion Wars the second time, the famous Pink Floyd, where you play Dark Side, and then because you can't put it on the screen because of copyrights and all that, they'll literally shut down your channel for doing that stuff. But yeah, people love doing that stuff. So yeah, Student Bodies is one we highly, highly recommend. It's fun. It could be very much like a Rocky Horror Picture thing. Because like for the first time I seen it, it was in Michigan of all places. This was a long time ago. There was a bunch of people that I met from a girl I was dating, and they were downstairs. They watched. One guy said, "Hey, have you ever seen Student Bodies?" I'm like, he's like, "Oh, you got to check it out." I fell in love with it just like that. And a bunch of them had been watching this movie probably 50 fucking times, and they were putting their own lines into it, or they're repeating certain stuff and all that. I'm like, this movie's fucking great. It was just so fun. So yeah, look forward to hearing a certain night. I know his wife, I would almost ask her right now if she hopefully watches or listens to this. Do me a favor, Mrs. Todd, doing so hard not to say her name right now out of respect. Because I know her and it's hard not to say her name right now.
Yeah, I know. But she wouldn't. I know what you're going to say. No, she would really tell the story really well.
So listen to this, Mrs. Todd. Write it down. Write some notes. Write it down on a sheet of paper of your point of view, if you wouldn't mind. And of course, give it to Todd, and then he could read what his wife would say. Pretty safe, I think.
Yes, I'm telling you what. I knew she was the one after that night. I absolutely knew.
Yeah. In fact, I'll give you a little teaser. Todd, of course, gave you a good vibe of what it was like for him as a DJ. Well, it was New Year's Eve, and everybody was having a lot of fun. We were wearing tuxedos, by the way. But anyways, Todd just was on a rampage of adult tasty beverages, and
wasn't my fault.
No, it was never his fault.
I had my own bartender.
It wasn't his fault.
We'll have to have him on sometime, because this gentleman, not only was he my personal bartender, but he actually made a series, and I think you have one, right? Don't you, Scott? You've got a volume. He made a volume of drinks, and he made 3 of them, and it was one for him, one for you, and one for me. And I still have mine upstairs.
Yeah,
and it was like 3 different black little binders of like different drinks.
Yep. And the BigDavesBar.com. I wish it still existed. He actually had a form in there and everything. It was awesome. You know what? If you want to hear an interesting story of how to find a good woman in your life when she probably should have after this night, I don't think so. There's no fucking way I'm marrying this man. Well, she stuck with him, and it's a very interesting story to tell as a DJ, and
still going after. This will be our 25th anniversary this year.
Yeah, and you notice she basically told him, if you ever fucking DJ again, I'll leave your ass. So.
No, I already knew that was my last night.
I know for a fact she told me this was years ago. She really enjoyed Todd doing that. They had a lot of fun. And she noticed she's seen a side of him that she really loved. It was a creative side of him that she loved watching him DJ. She knew how much fun he had at it. So I guess at one point she kind of felt, did I bring him? I'm like, nah. Because in all seriousness, it wasn't my decision for him, but I knew like back in October, this is at New Year's Eve. That's it. I'm done. I was burnt out on the whole bar thing. I was tired of it. You can't drag my ass into a bar this day and age. No.
Well, and she had kids, and they deserved my attention. And I mean, it was more of a standpoint of, it had run its course. And,
exactly.
And I think I went out the way. I
you definitely went out with a bang.
But I went out with a bang. It was a good time. I remember. But yeah, we'll get into that story. But I was extremely fortunate to find her, and that we're still together after all these years. I just can't say enough about her and how much I love her. And it's I waited till I was 30 to get married, and I found the right one. I got lucky. And,
so all the kids are buried in the backyard, and everything's going great. And I wasn't supposed to share that. I'm so sorry. We'll cut that out.
That's going to be another thing that we're going to have to bring up too.